Family court's complicated, especially for fathers, and no one knows that better than our guest, Furkhan Dania. He's a clinician who specializes in helping men navigate these systems, and he's a father who had to do it himself. His insights are powerful and hopefully will really help you as you start to navigate that system yourself. If you find this useful, please give a like and a subscription so that way other guys can find this as well. Let's get started. What are the three more common struggles you see guys face in family court in the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. I think parenting is number one, while the court's default is 50-50. But there's so many things that can change. In my case, for example, the location, city was changed. So how do you do 50-50 now, especially if the child's going to school in another city? So there's some challenges around that for sure. And abuse does get weaponized at times. Now, it's not to say it doesn't happen. It obviously happens, but in some cases it's not happening and it still gets weaponized. And unfortunately, in my experience, you only have 10 to 20 minutes to speak before a judge. So that's not enough time to get through all the details. This is where the courts will often delegate their responsibility to parenting coordinators or mediators or arbitrators to ensure that the matter is getting the amount of attention it deserves, because there's so many details. You're not going to cover that in an affidavit or 20 minutes. And how do you even discern what's truth, what's not? Often there's multiple sides to the story. Doesn't mean one person's always telling the truth. The truth is somewhere in the middle. So there's that. And I think partially men often get, the challenge is who's the best fit? Who should the child be with? By default, it always goes to the mom. That's part of the challenge. And again, abuse can happen on both sides, right? Men can be abusive, women can be abusive too. One is more talked about than the other. One is more obvious than the other. Emotional abuse, psychological abuse is very hard to discern and determine, and you obviously need experts to be able to talk through that. So then you need expert witnesses in these cases as well that can speak before a judge and present all the details of how some of the other less obvious forms of abuse are taking place. And then cost, right? So how do you afford? Like if you're going to hire a lawyer, they're charging you by the hour, and just to get a document prepared can eat up thousands of dollars. So at what point do you determine, is it even worth the fight? And especially if someone, I'm speaking through experience too, there's all these hurdles I had to grapple with myself. Is at what point do I decide to move forward with my life? At what point do I start thinking about myself? At what point do I start looking at financially, this is just getting ridiculous? So these are all the challenges that come up for men, and I've seen all kinds of struggles come up.
Well, and that financial concern ends up really stacking on people. So if it's 50-50 most of the time, there's not as much alimony or child support if they were fairly equivalent partners. But what I see happen a lot is when a guy loses access to 50-50, now he's paying extra money to support the children, which he should, right? Like they're his kids, that's fine. But that extra financial burden makes the likelihood of getting quality legal support even less likely. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. If you can, leave a comment. We'll see you next time.